Members, this is the Honourable Member's inaugural address. All of the usual courtesies and conventions of the Chamber apply. The Honourable Michelle Hofmann.
President, I am honoured and humbled to rise to deliver my maiden speech today. I'm grateful to the people of Western Australia who elected me to represent this incredible part of the world. I stand here today, first and foremost, as a proud Australian and a proud West Aussie. I also bring my lived experience to this chamber. As a young woman, as a wife, a mother and homemaker, a lawyer, a small business owner, a Liberal and a Christian. I see the providential opportunity that we have as Australians to be able to celebrate our Indigenous history, British heritage, migrant character and Judeo-Christian values. And I am grateful for the opportunities that I have as an Australian. I was born here in Perth, the eldest of four girls, second eldest of four girls. My parents always encouraged us to work hard and aim high. They also taught me to value our great state, not only because of the vast natural wonders, but also because of the rights and freedoms that we enjoy. Some of my greatest childhood experiences included times at the beach just south of Lancelin, catching crabs in the Mandurah estuary, camping among the karri trees near Pemberton, and benefiting from spending time in nature's playground. The words of Dorothea McKellar come to mind whenever I travel around our great state. I love a sunburnt country, a land of sweeping plains, of ragged mountain ranges, of droughts and flooding rains. I hope to pass on my love for our country to my children. Throughout my whole life, my experiences have shaped my views. Two particular aspects have been especially impactful on my beliefs. Firstly, my journey as a mother of three boys has given me compassion and empathy and informed my belief in the value and innate dignity of every human life from conception. And my belief in that extends to natural death. My belief has been impacted by my experience as a child of losing my grandfather to cancer. I've had the benefit of growing up in a stable family with my loving parents and three wonderful sisters, who I count among my closest friends. My mother's love and faith and generous example of service to others has been a constant in my life. And my parents have given me the greatest guide on how to raise my children to be great contributors to society. My father's commitment to family and strong work ethic has motivated me to always pursue my interests and strive to give my best with any endeavour. In that vein, I studied commerce and law at the University of Notre Dame. My commerce major was in the field of economics, a fascinating field that plays a crucial role in the success of our state. During my time studying such units as economics of financial crises and the history of Austrian economics, the lesson continued to come through that sometimes economic policies may be pursued with the best intentions, but the damage inflicted by unintended consequences can both undermine and outweigh the sought-after outcomes. This is aptly captured in the words of economist Frédéric Bastiat, who said that in the economic sphere, an act, a habit, an institution, a law produces not only one effect, but a series of effects. Of these effects, the first alone is immediate. It appears simultaneously with its cause. It is seen. The other effects emerge only subsequently. They are not seen. We are fortunate if we foresee them. One such example of the disastrous result of unintended consequences became evident during an economics research paper that I co-wrote about the introduction of minimum wage laws for Aboriginal pastoral workers in the 1960s. The intention of the policy was admirable, to finally address disparity in wage levels. However, the way that it was implemented resulted in widespread unemployment of Aboriginal pastoral workers, displacement from country, and transfer from paid employment to welfare dependency. My concern for the generational impact of unintended consequences is one of the greatest motivators for my interest in politics. I also, to put it simply, want to help people. During my first year of university, I volunteered at an Aboriginal advocacy centre. At that time, I sat in on countless meetings and transcribed the horrific details of people who were seeking help via the redress scheme. Under the redress scheme, compensation and apologies were given to many who suffered abuse and neglect as children while in state care. Unfortunately, some of the failures in the rollout of these processes sometimes unintentionally caused re-traumatisation. This work ingrained in me a deep respect for the lawyers who fight for the most vulnerable people in our society, and inspired me to always seek jobs in law that allowed me to give back to our community through volunteer work. Later on in my studies, another unintended consequence came to light when I was researching my law honours thesis. At a time when the law around prostitution in Western Australia was being reviewed, I researched various legal models available to legislators. The research was damning in the plethora of evidence of the harms inherently associated with prostitution. Notably, the focus of advocacy groups is upon how to minimise harm, acknowledging that, unfortunately, for the majority of those involved, there is significant exposure to danger, violence and harm. Rather than being a profession, the research revealed that it is more accurate to describe it as systemic oppression. In jurisdictions where prostitution has been legalised or decriminalised, one unintended consequence is an entrenched cultural view that violence, against women in particular, is deemed acceptable if the right price is paid. I wholeheartedly disagree with this view, and from the heartbreaking conversations that I had with women who were trying to exit prostitution, it became abundantly clear that our society fails to provide sufficient support for many vulnerable women who do not wish to resort to prostitution but feel powerless, or women who wish to leave it but don't know how. I have great compassion for anyone who feels trapped in these circumstances, and it's my desire to be of service to people in need that's motivated me to pursue politics. So, as a university student, the question I faced was, how do I get involved in politics? This question prompted me to take a good hard look at the various political parties and the philosophies that they have. Throughout my studies, I saw lessons from history, time and again, of the failures of socialism and the benefits of capitalism for our society as a whole. Lord Acton famously coined the phrase that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And this is why it is so important that we limit government intervention in our lives and that we address government overreach and overspend. After considering the various political philosophies in modern Australia, it became clear to me that the Liberal Party is a great champion in this space. I was drawn to the values of our party, that we believe in the innate worth of the individual, the value of the family, basic freedoms of thought, worship, speech, association and choice, reward for effort and equality of opportunity. We are so blessed to live in a country where we are free to follow our conscience, to speak up for what we believe is true and right, to vote freely in a democracy, and to freely choose to join a political party. Alongside the importance of freedom is the value of fairness, which is built into our Liberal Party processes. For over 15 years in the party, I have put my hand up regularly for various roles. Regardless of the outcome of our elections and pre-selections, what I have valued most was that I could see the fairness of the democratic processes, where any Liberal member has equal opportunity to put themselves forward and make a case for why they are the best person for the job. It's been important to me that the vast majority of the people who make decisions in that space are genuinely trying to determine who is the best person for the job based on merit. Mindful that this kind of equality of opportunity is a relatively recent development, I have a deep gratitude to live in WA, where both professionally and privately, I, as a woman, and for the record I mean as an adult biological female, have equal rights to any man. Though despite legal advancements in many areas, we still have a long way to go. We all denounce online grooming, but we allow public grooming when laws do nothing to prevent hypersexualised images in public places. We say that we respect women, but our laws still allow their bodies to be bought and used in the prostitution industry. We say that women with an unexpected pregnancy must have a choice, but we often don't really give them that, when the only so-called option promoted is ending the lives of more future Australians rather than showering them with love and support. Our laws should be based on science and evidence. How is it in this day and age that it's possible that we have a staggering number of politicians and would-be leaders who seem incapable of defining a woman, let alone protecting our biological, sex-based rights? To make laws that benefit the people in our state, we need to look at evidence. Laws should be improving life for Aussies. They should be about justice, not control. Throughout my legal career, I have seen champions of equality, leaders who genuinely seek to address gender-based disparity. One of the workplaces where I saw champions for equal pay for women was at Allens, where I started as a graduate in corporate and real estate law before specialising in environment and planning law. Working under one of the best lawyers I've ever known, my time at Allens taught me meticulous legal skills and introduced me to an area of law that has become an enduring interest. The role of an environmental lawyer is nebulous to many, but our legal framework in this space strives to adequately balance competing interests, from the need we have as a state to protect our natural environment and resources for generations to come, to the need to continually build our industries and ensure our economic prosperity. Both of these are admirable and necessary goals which regularly come into conflict. But we can't afford to commit resources to protecting our environment if our citizens can't afford to put roofs over their heads, keep the lights on, and feed their children. Also, our current laws create an unintended consequence that allows very small numbers of people to weaponise our approval system, to delay and frustrate projects that have already been approved under rigorous regulatory processes. For the good of us all, this needs to stop. Our state deserves better environmental laws, and I am determined to find ways to be a good steward and to protect our environment, while also reducing green tape and pursuing positive change for the sake of all West Australians. For the last few years, I took a change of direction with my legal career. Like so many other women, for much of my working life, I have juggled my professional work with raising a family, and I started my own small business, a legal practice, to have greater control over balancing my work commitments with the needs of my family. The challenge of starting a business was certainly exciting. The work I did in wills and estate planning was rewarding, and the flexibility was exactly what I was looking for. However, what I certainly underestimated was the impact of regulatory requirements and the administrative burden that was upon me as a business owner. I was aware of some of the challenges from seeing my parents run a business, and now I've experienced it myself. When we stop and consider that 97% of businesses in Western Australia are classified as small businesses, and that they employ more than 40% of the workforce, the far-reaching consequences of overregulation become more apparent. Small business owners are the ones who run farms and wineries throughout our region, who set up shops as accountants and tradies, who run the local coffee or ice cream van in the park. It's time that we made changes to reduce the regulatory burden on small businesses, to recognise their importance, and particularly to support the Aussie value of encouraging people to have a go. When we value reward for effort and entrepreneurship, then our society as a whole benefits. As a mum, I encourage my kids to try new things and to pursue their passions. I'm trying to put strong enough boundaries in place that will allow them the freedom to be kids for as long as possible, and I try to protect them from some of the damaging messages that our culture sends to our children. I grew up without much exposure to technology, yet today, as parents, my husband and I constantly have to understand the new technology impacting our kids, then figure out what boundaries to set, then enforce them, which is usually the hardest part, in a fast-paced world and in a technological onslaught that feels like it develops faster than we can breathe. One of the biggest challenges that we face in understanding new technologies is that it is often easy to see the benefits, yet the unintended consequences can take years to become apparent. For example, it is partly because social media was marketed as such a great tool for connecting with people that so many children have been active on social media. It is only after years of use that we have become aware of the serious negative impact on the mental health and well-being of our children and young people, some of whom feel more isolated and disconnected from community than ever before. As our iconic parenting guru Maggie Dent points out in relation to our youth, the digital world is wired against them. It is wired to have them see harmful content to ensure they stay engaged. Over time, research has revealed that there are specific algorithms particularly targeting our teens with messages that undermine the self-confidence of our girls and expose our boys to misogynistic, violent content that encourages a culture of disrespect, especially towards women. The parents around me are begging for better protections for our children. Whether that be the mum who told me about her 9-year-old son being exposed to pornography by an older child, or the many concerned citizens who have tried to get hypersexualised imagery out of shopping centre windows and off billboards. It is incomprehensible that hypersexualised images are rightly outlawed in modern workplaces, yet permitted in public places where children are exposed to them. It just doesn't make sense. We need to take the actions today so that our society can let kids be kids. The unintended consequence of giving advertisers largely free rein in these spaces is that we are bombarded by all the wrong messages. If we truly value and respect the dignity of women, then we should be ensuring that hypersexualised images are not part of our public places. I want my 3 boys, and boys everywhere, to grow up understanding how to respect others, and especially how to genuinely respect women. as a parent in modern day Australia, there really are a myriad of challenges that crop up regularly. The old adage says that it takes a village to raise a child. And in today's world, it's probably more accurate to say that it takes a village to raise a child well and hold on to your sanity at the same time. I am so grateful for the well-populated village around me, playing a role in supporting my husband and I and our kids. To my extended family, my friends and colleagues, many of whom are here today or watching online, thank you. To everyone who has been part of my journey in law and politics so far, from the many fellow volunteers who have put their hearts and souls into fighting for the values that we hold dear, to those who first encouraged me to put my hand up for positions within the party and helped me to keep going despite setbacks. Most recently, thank you to the clerk and the parliamentary staff who have all gone above and beyond to prepare the class of 2025 for this new chapter of our lives. To my husband, Jared, thank you for the adventures we've had so far, for your unwavering love and support. I could not do this without you. To my boys, Jacob, Nicholas and Samuel, thank you for bringing me so much joy. I'm standing here today because I hope to play a small part in making our part of the world a better place with a brighter future for you and all children. We cannot achieve that unless we continue to fight for freedom, for common sense, for truth, for fairness, and for what is right. And so, returning to the words of economist Frederick Bastiat, the difference between a bad economist and a good one is that the bad economist confines himself to the visible effect. The good economist takes into account both the effect that can be seen and those effects that must be foreseen. I aspire to be a good lawmaker because the future prosperity of our state and the well-being of all Western Australians depends on the extent to which we foresee the consequences of decisions that we make and the laws that are passed in this place. Thank you.